How's it going tonight, everybody? How many of you all know what it's like to, go weeks, sometimes months, without having any secure idea of where your next meal is going to come from? Probably not too many of you. Well, there's this new movement out there called urban farming. I'm not sure if you all have heard of it. It's pretty good idea. So, urban farming is basically the production in exactly like what you would think urban areas and where fresh produce isn't really something that's easy to come by. Where around here we're pretty spoiled with the fact that being on the eastern shore of Maryland, we have access to corn and all that stuff. I myself come from a family of farmers who have been supplying corn and soybeans and produce like that to the shore for the last probably 40, 50 years now. So we don't really have an appreciation for what people in urban areas, like Washington, D.C., Chicago, Detroit, places like that where fresh food isn't really that easy to come by just because there's so many buildings and skyscrapers in the area that you can't even get access to anything substantial without having to pay an arm and a leg for a freaking banana. So here's my take on how things could possibly be just a little bit better. So we'll start off with the fact that the urban farming movement, for lack of a better word, has this campaign. It's called the 100 Million Families Campaign. And basically, what it's trying to do is spread the word around the nation, around the world, that if 100 million people take part in this movement, we can provide sustainable food sources for the entire world. Now, that is something huge. I mean, absolutely ridiculously huge. If we can educate people on how to live in impoverished communities and how to get them to plant their own crops, $60, I read in an article, $60 alone can provide up to $200 worth of just good produce. So, that's one thing that you really have to look at. And also, one of the multiple issues with urban farming is that some of these urbanized areas have pretty contaminated soil. Now, I don't want to say a minor problem, but in the scheme of things, it is a pretty minor issue. I mean, we've got folks that are, starving to death on the streets, and contaminated soil is something that we can certainly work around. Now, that's just one of the few things that critics say about urban farming that could really be a setback, but I don't feel as though something that easy to prevent and that easy to get around should be a way to stop urban farming. My personal take is that I feel as though urban farming is probably the most effective way to get things going, to get, sustainable food sources to the masses and to make it accessible to everyone around the world. I mean, you don't want to be eating double cheeseburgers every day for the rest of your life for off the dollar menu. You want to be eating good, healthy fruits and salads and all that so that you can be well nourished and live a full, happy life and full of good health. And, I mean, really, the nice, nutritious stuff is what's going to get you by in life. You just can't go off of the crap food that we're given in the mainstream. We're looking at McDonald's, Burger King, Hardee's, all of these places that offer $5, you know, combo meals with large French fries and all that, when they charge, $6, $7, $8 for just a plain salad. That is the reason why we are growing obese as a country. So if we can find a way to get these food sources, the good produce and all that, into the hands of people that are struggling, you'll see a big boom in not only production of produce and vegetables and stuff like that, but also the economy. You'll see people working hard again. You'll see them trying to sustain these farms. You'll see a blast from the past, basically. You'll see people trying to sustain farms in the inner city. I mean, that's not something that we see nowadays. I mean, I can't think of a place that I've been outside of the Eastern Shore of Maryland that truly has a good farm community. Now, I'm not saying that I've traveled a lot, but if you're going to go to Chicago, Detroit, Cleveland, any of those urbanized areas, you'll be lucky to see anybody with a backyard. So that's just a little food for thought, and we'll take that for what it is. You all have a good night.